So welcome to episode 4 of Real Event Musings. I've been saving notes for years from weddings and events about things that mostly you should not do, and generally things that, people do because they suck. Alright, so let's dive right in. So I'm doing weddings for decades, right? And one of the things I hear, periodically when things go wrong, people will say, well, it's the couple's fault, because they wanted it that way. Well, I tend to disagree with that statement. And again, this is general. It doesn't apply to like every wedding, but in general. It's our job as wedding professionals to educate them and give them that. And I think, because you got to understand the wedding cycle, right? The wedding cycle is vendors. There's new vendors every year. So someone like me, been in the game 20 years, when I started off, I'm not going to lie to you, I probably sucked, all right? But I took the time to learn. I took the time to go out and educate. And I wanted my events to be better. There's not a lot of people who subscribe to that theory. It's all about the money with them, right? It's all about the money. So they have no interest in learning better ways or cross-educating, like how to work with a photographer better as a DJ, or how to work with a caterer better as a planner, or how to work with a officiant better as a photographer. Most people don't care. They just want to stay in their lane, do their thing, get paid, and go home. And that's not the best thing in the world to do. So anyway, it is not the couple's fault. It's your fault for not educating them. Most everything that I'm going to comment on today could have been avoided. And these are real first-hand experiences from weddings over the last however many years, right? There might be a couple of kudos along the way too, if you're lucky. Couple. And we're doing this so when you plan your event, you can avoid these same mistakes, or at least ask your professionals that you've hired to not do them. All right? That's basically where we're at. So, let's dive right in and get right into it right now. Episode 4, Real Event Musings. All right, jumping right off as we get into this. Venues. Venues that leave the house music on. A lot of venues have like a little sound system that plays music. So, when we show up as a DJ or a planner or a photographer or whatever, there's music playing. It's very light. You can almost hardly hear it, right? But it's on, because a lot of these places double as a restaurant or something like that. So the music's on and whatnot. But it should be standard procedure on some frickin' checklist somewhere that says turn house music off at, whatever designated time, which should be before we start things. Should actually, listen, here we go. This is what happens when the house music is not turned off, right? Because again, it's so faint you can hardly hear it. Cocktail hour, the DJ or band's got their music playing, musicians got music playing, nobody hears it. Let's assume everything's in one room, okay? One giant space. During the intros, the DJ's music is pumping and nobody can still hear it. And then there's the first dance. Again, the DJ's music will push it out, the band's music will push it out. Nobody hears it, because usually during all that period, people are talking too. There's some kind of noise going on, nobody hears it. But then we get to the blessing and the toast, and you can faintly hear this music in the background. Turn that shit off. Put it on your checklist. Turn it off. It shouldn't be on. You're ruining someone's wedding. The last thing we need is Father so-and-so's doing a blessing, or someone's bridesmaid is doing a heartfelt speech, or a best man or whatever, and all you hear in the background is something that doesn't even fit periodically. Anyway, it doesn't fit. God, it might even be half bad if it were like a jazz or something, some instrumental, but it's usually some song that just doesn't fit, so turn that shit off. For the love of God, everyone was planning a wedding, right? If you want a great dance party, please make it a priority, no matter how big your wedding is, to book a venue where the bar is in the same room as the dance floor. And whenever possible, try to include the photo booth or the cigar station or whatever these extra things you might have in that same space. The more reasons people have to leave the room where the dance floor and the entertainment is, the more opportunity they will do so. Going to the bathroom, smoking, are already two things that are probably not going to be in the same room. I can almost guarantee that, right? But if you put a photo booth out in the hallway, or you have a cigar station over here, or you've got a s'more station over there, like that's just more reason for people to leave the room where the party is, killing your dance floor. I'll say it again, I'll say it 1,000 times. Keep everything in the same room whenever possible. And this starts, couples, this starts when you are doing your venue search. Try to keep those things in the same room. All right, you know how we roll here. We're in the Epic Shenanigans studio recording this, and we talk to real people here. What we do is real weddings. We don't sugarcoat it. There's nothing sugarcoated here. It's all real. It's all about real life experiences, and we work with real people who want to have a successful celebration no matter what their budget. So this is real advice that you can take, and that's a real drink. So cheers. Brides, or anyone important, right? Brides or anyone important, but I think this happens a lot. This particular thing is focused on the brides. Remember, there's a schedule, right? That a certain number of a certain number of hours that your pros need to execute your wishes. Everything is in a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hour time frame that stuff has to get done, and the more stuff you have to get done, the tighter that schedule gets. Your coordinator, if there's one hired, or the venue manager, or your photo and DJ team, they need to know if you are leaving the venue for more than 10 minutes, if you're leaving the venue at all, to do like a dress change or anything where they can't find you for a half hour or more, you need to let them know, especially if there are more formalities to be done. Listen, if you get through all your stuff and you got 2 hours of dancing left, you want to leave for half hour, there's nothing else to do, fine, just make sure you're back by the end of the reception. But if you're leaving right after dinner to change your dress because you got this really cool slim fitting one that fits later, that's great, and nothing wrong with that. But if we still got to do a cake cutting, if we still got to do this, there's going to be people looking for you. If you have to go out and do sunset pictures, there's going to be people looking for you. You need to let someone know. Someone who's in charge. That usually starts with a coordinator, if there's one hired, or the venue manager coordinator, if there's one provided. If not, the caterer and or your entertainment usually run the timeline after that. So make sure that you tell them, hey, I'm leaving, I'm going real quick, I need to change my dress, no problem. And it's generally not a problem if it's a quick thing. But when you're gone for a half hour, 45 minutes, that causes significant delays in things, and now guests don't know what's going on, and they start blaming everyone else, like, oh, this is not a party because blah, 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 whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Tell somebody. That's it. Venues and or caterers. And throughout this whole thing, whenever I say venues and or caterers, understand that there are venues that do catering, and then there are rental venues that a caterer comes into. So when I say venues, slash caterers, that's what I'm getting at. There should always be a trash container of some kind. I don't care if it's a trash can or a little thing on the counter, whatever it is, at the coffee station. Always. There should always be something at the coffee station because you've put out sugar and sweetener packets. You've put out creamer packets. Where the hell are people going to put them? Come on, it's not rocket science. But why do we keep seeing this year after year after year after year? Again, put that on your checklist. Here's my catering checklist. Here's all the things we need. We're providing coffee. You get what I'm saying? Trash can. Also, if it's one of those urns that serves 2 pots of coffee and it's got the little spout at the bottom, maybe it looks like this, and you're putting it on the end of the table or the end of the station so people can put their cup under it, you're killing me. That's cheap, it looks cheap, it acts cheap, and all the coffee drips on the floor. Raise those stations up. Food and beverage looks awesome when it's raised up and presented properly. I'm not even a caterer. I have no experience in catering anything other than my own parties. But that's it. To me, it seems like common sense. Like, geez, raise your stuff up. You know, there's all kinds of ways you can raise stuff up. Little wood things, little metal things, little blocks, bricks, you know. There's so many cool things out there to raise your display up. Make sure you leave enough room for the cup. But the bottom line is just don't put it on the end of the frickin' table so it drips off. My God, it's so ugh. Continuing with the venues and the caterers. When you're planning a spot for the cake, or anything being displayed where people are going to take pictures, right? Such as a cake cutting. Sometimes the most logistical spot in the room is not the best spot for that. Well, the cake fits here, and there's a view behind it of the river. Meanwhile, there's also no blind or curtain, and what's happening is, while people are getting married and there's a cocktail hour, the sun is beating down on this, melting the frickin' cake. Or worse, outside in the background of this picture, even though the river is out there, or the lake is out there, or the pond, or the horse farm, whatever, there's also wires hanging down. There's cars. I've been at venues where outside the window is a dumpster. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Correct that shit so the pictures look better. When you focus just on the food and the presentation of all the stuff in the room, you lose track of the big picture. And the big picture is the actual picture or video that the couple gets of them cutting the cake with a dumpster in the background. That's fucking cool. Let's keep going again with caterers and venues. If you know that there's a champagne toast, you should be getting that out 20 minutes before we start doing intros and first dance and stuff. You know what's coming up within a half an hour. Get that out. Otherwise, there's this massive freaking delay. You know, we've done the intros, we've done the first dance, we did parent dances, whatever. I know it's different in every state or whatever, but... And then we're ready to do a toast, and the caterers run up, oh my God, we didn't get the whatever. Me as a DJ and a planner, I always make sure it's out. I always, double check it's on my checklist. But caterers, you need to add this to your list too. Venue managers, you should add this to us. What is there a champagne toast? Is it out? Is it checked off? Is it checked off on my sheet? Get it done. Causes major delays. It's nobody likes that. I have ways around it to entertain people as a DJ, but if I'm not the DJ, it's freaking awkward. I'm going to tell you right now, it's awkward as shit. And while we're talking about toasts, caterers and venues, please, for the love of sweet baby Jesus, you're going to hear me say that a lot today, for the love of sweet baby Jesus, close the damn bar during the introductions and the dances. Nobody needs a drink. They need to be paying attention to those 2 or 3 or 4 major moments that are happening that should require everyone's attention. Honestly, most couples nowadays, after dinner, there's very few, if any, formalities at all. It's a big party. All we require of all the guests that are there is to give us your undivided attention for 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. And you can't do that if the bar's open, there's a line of people. And then they're talking while the bride's sister is giving a heartfelt speech, or the groom's best man is, delivering some awesome, comedy routine where he prepared, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Close the fucking bar. Oh, it gets worse. We're going. That was 1 page. We have like 4. Venues. This is more of a venue thing. Because usually they're the ones doing the layout, or wedding planners, whatever. A lot of venues have gorgeous windows, right? There's beautiful windows, big, up here in the Adirondacks, we have these big, V-shaped windows. My God, it's beautiful. The mountains and stuff in the background. A lot of times they're up high, but whatever, they're there, right? And they love the stage stuff in front of them. Commonly, it could be a bride and groom, or 2 brides, 2 grooms, whatever. But the couple, the guest of honor, if it's not a wedding, they're in there. That's great. Sometimes you see the buffet there. That's cool too. In that case, it doesn't really matter. But in a lot of times, there's some venues in our area where the DJ or the band gets put there. And I'll speak as a DJ for a brief second. So we're there in front of this window, and behind us at 4 o'clock, or 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or, whatever, the fucking sun is out. Now I can't see my screen. Can't see the screen. Do you know what it looks like when you're a DJ and you are trying to DJ and the sun is in your eyes? This is what it looks like. Or the sun's on your screen. Do you know what it looks like when you're trying to DJ and the sun is on your screen? This is what it looks like. You can't see a goddamn thing. So consider where you're staging things and the sun. Here's a great solution, right? Like, this is just a solution. Maybe putting up a blind that can be retracted, or a curtain that can be pulled, or something temporarily. We don't want to kill the whole vibe, the whole view, but temporarily you might need that. And the last thing that a guest wants is to be blinded by the sun when they're sitting there trying to eat dinner. There are venues within the region that I've been to in the last 4 or 5 years. This happens every time. No blind, no curtain. The guests are going, this is horrible. Kind of like me right now with these freaking 6 spotlights shining on me. Bright as shit. I hate it, but I'm doing a video. Guests at a wedding eating dinner don't want to be blinded by the sun. Here's another big one. And I don't know if this is the venue or the caterer in case of a rental thing. There's all different kinds of people. I'm just going to say event setup staff. Event setup staff, whoever that category falls into. Is there any way to make the goddamn aisle for the ceremony 8 to 10 feet wide? There should be. I do it all the time. At our venue, as a wedding planner, I demand it. The aisle has to be 8 to 10 feet wide. Maybe even wider, depending on how many, things they have in the aisle. But let's just talk about this for a minute. You've got a spouse-to-be walking down the aisle. Most commonly, there's one person walking next to them. That's a good 5 to 6 feet right there. Especially if it's a bride and the bride has a big dress on. That's a good 5 to 6 feet right there. Then on top of that, they want to put these, floral arrangements at each end of each thing, or these candles, or these, spigots, whatever. Whatever they're putting there. You need to be 8 to 10 feet wide. It is so awkward to watch a bride and her father, or a spouse-to-be and somebody walking down the aisle. Sometimes there's 3 people. I've had plenty of weddings where mom and dad are walking their daughter or their son down the aisle, whatever it might be. And it's awkward because they have to turn sideways. Nobody wants to turn sideways. The standard 6-foot aisle just doesn't work here. See what I'm saying? Please. I could do this all night, right? All right, this one goes out to the couples. Some of these venues you're looking at are really, really awesome. They're amazing in every way. Consider this when choosing one, as I have seen this all too often. Cocktail hours over here on floor number 1. Then the guests need to go to floor number 3 for the introductions, the dinner, the dancing, stuff like that. All that sounds great. Amazing package you got, amazing display, you got open bar, you got whatever. Do me this favor. Allow 30 to 40 extra minutes for the transition to happen, especially for larger weddings. The more guests, the more time you need to move them. If you got 30 people going from floor 1 to floor 2, that'll be done in 10 minutes. But if you got 150, 200 people, you just lost 30 to 40 minutes of dancing in a damn transition. And nobody wants that to happen at their wedding. These are things you got to think about when you're choosing your venue. Okay, back at it. Caterers, event pros, whoever. You come to a venue, and a rental venue, right? A rental venue. Client has rented the venue. No catering provided. You're the caterer, or the DJ, or whoever. And you come and do a site visit with the client for planning. Now the venue has already sold them something that they need extra, or something they want. Let's not use the word need. Something they wanted extra. Let's say a tent for a cocktail hour, or uplighting, because the venue has good uplighting, or even a photo booth. Some venues are offering photo booths now. The last thing that you, as that vendor, want to do in front of the venue manager is tell the client they don't need it, or worse, try to sell yours for less. That's the fastest way you're going to get on a venue blacklist that I could possibly think of. So enjoy your last gig at that venue and be happy that you made next to $300, because you're done after that. You should never do that. This literally has happened to me. Hey, it's Marky Mark, and when I shot this whole video initially, I thought it was going to be a quick one, but we have 60 minutes of footage, so I'm breaking it down into 3 episodes. That was episode number 1. Episode number 2 is coming next, or should I say part 2.